It's time to present Scott DuPont to bring you another episode of Finance Your Movie with tips and strategies to help you get your money to tell your story. It's time!
Episode of Finance Your Movie. I'm here with Nicola Rose, writer, director, producer. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, you did a very common route. You did a bunch of short films when you first got into the business. And then, I guess in about 2022, you did your first feature,
Mhm.
Goodbye, Petrushka.
Yeah, Goodbye Petrushka was filmed, 2022 it released.
And tell me a little bit about that. What was the budget? How did you put that together? How did that come about?
Oh gosh. I mean the budget was sub 200. I don't I want to say that, with whatever marketing money and uh, everything it was probably still under 170. It was so small.
Nothing to be ashamed of. It was, you made a good first movie, so you got it out there.
I always looked at that movie as being the launching pad for doing my next movie. I kind of already had in mind that it was going beyond one feature film. What was your question beyond what was the budget? I know you had a second question.
So how did that all come together? So 170, 200,000, nothing to sneeze at. How did you put that together? Was that a crowdfunding or friends and family?
It was not friends and family. Goodbye Petrushka was I'm having to think back through the mists and the tangles of a lot of other stuff that's happened since involving my second feature. But from what I remember, Goodbye Petrushka was a combination of private investors on obviously a very modest scale. And I think there was a small amount of crowdfunding that probably accounted for, I don't know, accounted for 1%. I don't know what it accounted for, but there, up until that point, I was used just to doing short films. So I probably had it in my head that you could somehow crowdfund a feature. And I'm sure for some people that is possible, but I think that's possible for people who have access to funds that I'm as I'm fond of telling people I don't come from money, and you can still make films even if you don't come from money, but it does mean that you are going to be going a more creative or scrappy route to do it.
Does that scrappy route involve making lots of phone calls, just reaching out to a zillion people?
Yeah, I mean, to tell you the truth, I always favor the scattershot approach because if you narrow it, I mean, you have to narrow it down a certain amount. Just getting in touch with like everybody, every college student, every kid you've ever met is obviously it's not going to help. But if you get in touch with more people rather than less, you are, I think, inevitably going to be surprised by who gets back in touch with you and says, yes, I want to invest in this thing. Um, or donate to this thing if it's a crowdfunding situation. In the case of both, actually, I'll extend this to include the things I crowdfunded for, the much smaller,
The
much
shorts.
smaller short film. Yeah, the short films before Goodbye Petrushka. All of those things, in all of those cases, there were people who either invested or donated, and sometimes it does unfortunately end up coming to the same thing. There were people who gave a great deal of money, knowing that it might be a donation, ultimately, knowing that it might or might not be an investment that returned, knowing that there was no guarantee. But who did it was always surprising. In no case was it, oh, it's your family. That's what people would expect, but that wasn't the situation that I was dealing with. It was almost always people that there might have been a friend or two, but mostly people that I was not close to. Mostly people that I was vaguely connected to in some way who, for whatever reason, decided that this project resonated with them. And it helps, of course, if the project has some sort of um, message or affiliation beyond just it's a story because,
Something to
Magnetosphere,
connect with.
yeah, something they can connect with. Not that to me that's it's a little bit neither here nor there because what I would tend to look for if I were going to invest in something is it a good project? Is it does this look promising? Not, is it saying the right thing? But I think I think it makes perfect sense that, if the project has to do, if people see it as being a project that's promoting anti-bullying sentiment, and this is somebody who's been bullied, they're going to be like a lot more, if they have money to spare, they're going to be a lot more inclined to donate or invest it than if that message is not there.
I want to drill down a little bit. Something you said that really resonates with me is that you were really surprised by who came in. And I always say, don't prejudge anyone, even
Yeah.
if you don't know them very well. But what were some of the surprises? Did you like connect with somebody and then all of a sudden they ended up investing much, much higher, or people that you thought would invest didn't invest? What were some of the surprises?
Um, sometimes it was people that I simply didn't think had any interest in me or the project at all. No connection. Maybe it was somebody who, in one of my other lives, I work as a sort of tutor, teacher. Um, so it might be somebody that I taught their kid and they're kind of investing back. And, you know, I don't presume to know anybody's financial situation, so I would get in touch with people not necessarily thinking, oh, they have deep pockets, they'll invest, because you can't look at it that way. It's more like
Yeah,
these are people who might listen. I think that was actually the criterion that I probably focused on the most, was like there might have been people that I knew who very obviously had a lot of money, but who also the writing was on the wall for me that they were not going to invest that money in independent film, basically that they knew better. So I wasn't going to approach that person. I would be more likely to approach a person who would see that investment as an investment that could pay off in other ways than this will immediately return at a rate of X. Because, they might be waiting 17 years for it to return extremely slowly, and they know that they are given all this
yeah, yeah,
information prior to signing anything. It says in that contract, no guarantee of return 1,000 times in bold and underlined, because our lawyer is very careful.
yeah.
Uh, they know what they're getting into. And, I think there's a fine line that you have to tread when you're asking, which is between saying it's never going to make any money, because we don't know that and we don't believe that.
Yeah, and I,
But
I wouldn't get into a project if you didn't believe it was going to make any money.
obviously, yeah, no, there has never, well, with short films, they're never going to make any
Yeah,
money.
yeah, that's a different animal. Let's speaking of
Yeah,
making money, congratulations on all the buzz and acclaims you've gotten from your recent film, Magnetosphere.
thank
Uh,
you.
bigger budget. Tell us a little bit about that. That's pretty exciting.
Um, Let me see. So the buzz began. We had our initial release in North America on a whole bunch of different streaming platforms. So most importantly, you can see it on Prime Video in North America, all over North America, Canada, and so forth. And did I just say, yeah, Prime Video and Apple TV? Those are sort of the main two platforms, but then there are like 10 or 12 other platforms, Sling and Xbox and this and that. There's a whole list of them through our distributor, which our distributor is Freestyle Digital Media. And if you were to either Google Magnetosphere movie, or you were to go to Freestyle Digital Media's website, or to Google them and look up Magnetosphere, you would find all the different platforms on which you could watch this. And when it came out, just at the end of last month, there was all of a sudden a lot of really positive critical response that I was really pleased and almost kind of taken aback by. Not that I had expected anything negative, but just like, oh, I didn't
Audiences are
necessarily.
liking it, critics and audiences, it looks like.
Yeah, well, the audiences, I had some idea were going to enjoy it because I had sort of been able to get a beat on what audience reaction was like at a handful of screenings, um, festival screenings, and one case a friends and family screening,
Let, let's
for the
back let's
cast.
back up a little bit.
Yeah.
How, because this is like a big step up. You're obviously very proud of the movie. The trailer looks amazing. I can't wait to watch it. I'm probably gonna
Oh, thank
watch
you.
watch it on Prime this weekend. But how did that all come together? Because that was a bigger budget. I think you said close to 1 million.
Yes, I think it was, I think if you do the conversion to US dollars, it's a little under.
Not bad for your second film. Pat yourself on the back. You got it done.
I mean, I don't think anybody ever had any illusions that it was going to be a $35 million. It's like when people, I think a lot of people have strange expectations, especially in the United States, of what an independent film is going to, the sort of funds that you're going to be able to pull in. Maybe because a lot of moviegoers just assume that everything is going to have the budget of, Fantastic Four, so they see something and it doesn't even have any crane shots, and they're like, "Whoa, what is this?" I've never seen a low budget film, so that's why, you have things that in this country it's insane. You have 10 million looked at as low budget. It's just like who looks at things this way, but that's
I want to
what we
clarify, you're
have.
talking about Canada?
I I'm talking about
Canada, which
America.
country?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about the United States.
Okay. Okay. So United States, um, $1 million. You pulled that together. Was that pretty much all equity? I'm guessing obviously you didn't crowdfund that. And were some of those
No.
repeat investors?
Some repeat investors, some non-repeat investors. Um, yeah, everything's pretty much equity at that point. I don't remember the exact breakdown, but I don't, yeah, I think there may have been a few small donations that were sort of like one-off, I want to do something, so here's $35 kind of thing. It all helps.
And like you said, a lot of phone calls, a lot of like just a lot of
Yeah,
reach
you're just on the
outs.
phone a lot. I remember walking around at that time. I lived in New York and there was a park right across the street from my apartment. And I remember endless hours, days, weeks, months walking around there just on the phone constantly. People don't realize how much of this is just walking in circles on the phone, having the same conversation over and over and trying to understand and appeal to where each potential investor is coming from. And trying to get a sense of who is an appropriate investor as opposed to, some people but they might have the money, they might want to invest even, but they might not be the appropriate investor for your film because their goals are different from yours, or they may just in some way not be aligned with what you're doing. And so, you have to get to know them as much as they have to get to know you, and you want to make sure that they understand no guarantee of return, but we hope it will return. We have reason to think it will return, and here's why. And so it's that delicate balancing act always.
Yeah. I can actually picture because my dad has a place in New York, and when I'm visiting him, I go out to the park and I'm literally on the phone walking around the park. I could literally visual myself doing that. And
Yeah.
Tom Malloy, who's raised $25 million himself on all of his independent films, he's a great fundraiser, writer, producer,
How
actor.
much did you say you raised? I'm so sorry.
25 million, but that's over about 15 years.
And that's for one film, or that's
No,
for
no,
how
no.
many?
That was a whole bunch of films. He does low budget films, usually under $2 or $3 million.
Oh, I see. Okay, but so it's any way you slice it, it's really impressive that he was
Yeah, but
able to.
one of the things he
Okay.
said, and I wanted to kind of let the audience visualize you walking around all day long in the park. He
Like for
said the
months.
key was enthusiasm. And one of the reasons that I stand up all the time, I just have better energy when I'm standing versus when I'm slouched over and kind of sitting like that all day.
You said there is some should say it because it's true. I don't think I've ever had a call with an investor when I'm just like, "Ugh," in my computer chair. Because, I mean, maybe if it's a follow-up, maybe if it's you're thinking, let me know what questions you have kind of thing. But if it's the initial call, no, you've got to be up on your feet. You have to be moving. You almost have to be jogging to have the right kind of, adrenaline going to,
As weird as it sounds, there's a
yeah,
certain energy level when you're standing versus just, sitting on the couch or laying in bed or whatever. So I'm so
it
glad you said
is.
that. That's so important is
It's a
you
thing.
gotta feel your enthusiasm. And also, I liked what you said a few minutes ago. You said, I didn't call up these really, really rich people I knew he had money. I
Yeah.
called people I know that would listen to me Because I
Yeah.
think it's kind of, this might just be me. I think it's kind of icky calling someone up just for money.
It is. I mean, to be fair, there are people I called up because I knew they had money and they knew that I knew that they knew that. But I also started by saying, look, I know you get hit up all the time, and I'm calling you because I think you may be appropriate for this. And if you don't want to have anything to do with it, don't have anything to do with it. There are literally no stakes for you here. So thanks
Yeah,
for listening to me for 5 minutes. And, here's my pitch. And you know, here's the curious thing, which is not to generalize or say anything about anybody. So often those are the folks who end up saying, what's the lowest I can invest? And in a case like this, it's going to be very low, whatever the equity bar is, in order to make the movie in the first place. Let's just assume that that equity bar is low. And they'll go in for the minimum because that's smart. Whereas the person who probably doesn't have a ton of money, who probably is making low six figures a year and living in a big city and probably spending most of that on rent, is going to invest like 50,000 in your film or 70,000 and say, because I believe in this. And you think, well, holy shit, what, why? But,
well,
not why.
I want to drill into the why a little. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe part of it because they could get a screen credit or some kind of producer title? Did that matter sometimes?
I think I'm actually, you know what? I don't have a good answer for that because I am literally baffled by that. I think some people, I don't, I'm baffled by it in a sense. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's bad, but I don't understand if or why it matters to people. I understand when people, the work either resonates with them or it doesn't. I understand that. When it has to do with the screen credit, wanting to be called EP, wanting to be called, co-EP or AP or whatever, um, I, I haven't invested in a film in that capacity. And if I did, I would say leave me off the credits entirely. Do not even mention my name in the special thanks. So I don't know what value that may hold for people. I think it does in some cases, but you'd have to ask people. I'm not the one to ask. I would say don't even mention that I exist.
Yeah, yeah.
Just use the money.
Everyone's
And
different.
yeah, I would say because I don't want anybody else coming to me. I would say, if you want, you can, make an anagram of my name and put it in the, put it in the background actors. I don't know, but I don't know. Yeah.
So, definitely check out Magnetosphere. You can
Yeah.
see it on Amazon Prime, Apple. Just I guess Google Magnetosphere movie.
Yeah, or go to, and this is a web address. It's going to sound funny, but truly go to freestyledigital.tv/film/magnetosphere, which is exactly like it sounds, magnetosphere, all one word. And you will see a list of the dozen or so platforms that it's streaming on. But mainly, Prime Video, most people are going to have access to. Apple TV, most people are going to have access to, and it's on both of those.
Awesome. Congratulations on your success,
Thank
especially
you.
the most recent movie. I know it was a real passion project for you. Lewis is your biggest cheerleader. He was
Oh
probably
yeah.
the one who connected us. He's always promoting the movie. Glad
He
to
is
have you
the
on.
very best there is.
This is one of the most just raw, honest, down to earth interviews I've ever done because just thank you for sharing and just being so genuine how you did it. And any parting words of advice you would like to give that first time filmmaker to doing their first short? Because it is a little scary if you've done a couple shorts, but you've never done your first feature, never
So doing
raised
their
that.
first short or doing their first
No, no,
feature?
first feature. So it's a little
Oh,
scary if you've never raised that kind of money, whether it's 200,000, a
right.
million, or 2 million.
All I can say is don't be afraid to get on the phone and make those calls because it may be nerve-wracking for you and understandably so because you're asking for money. But just remember that that person at the other end has no emotions and no feelings attached to this whatsoever. They don't care whether you call or don't call. They're looking to the best that can happen is that you'll convince them just by force of personality or value of the project. They'll be able to excuse me, you'll be able to convince them that this is something they should invest in. But just remember, they don't care, only you care. So the nerves, the oh my God, I shouldn't be doing this, that's only on your side. And if you can just drop that aside and feel it, set that aside and feel it from their point of view, the person you're talking to, who is just like, oh hey, it's 3:15, I knew I was going to get a call from somebody, whatever. um there are no stakes. There really aren't. If they say no, somebody else is going to say yes. So just plan to be on the phone a while.
Perfect advice.
Yeah.
Plan to be on the phone a while, and if you have a great project with a great plan, you will get funded. Nicola Rose,
Eventually, yeah, it
thank
may
you.
take a really long time. Go ahead.
And you know what? You know what my answer to that is? Who cares? If I get my next movie made, who cares if it takes a few extra months, if it takes a year? You got it
Yeah.
done. So
Yeah.
congratulations. One final question I was going to ask you is because obviously there's a lot of indie filmmakers watching and listening to this podcast. What are some of the services that you offer indie filmmakers to help them?
Yes, so this is sort of aside from fundraising, because a number of people have come to me in the past and said, can you help me fundraise? Like, basically, can you send me people who've given you money and maybe they'll give money to me? And of course, I cannot do that. I would lose the trust of everybody I've ever spoken to. So no, I'm not able to help with fundraising, but there is one thing that I can and do help people with once their film is at the other end, once it's actually produced and out there. And that's with reaching out to critics to get professional reviews, the sort of reviews that are accredited on Rotten Tomatoes, and that will do something for you online in terms of promoting the film, in terms of getting pull quotes, in terms of getting just good publicity and credibility online. I do offer a service which I'm happy to be contacted about, and we can chat about the rates and so forth, of reaching out to different folks who write about film. I'm talking about professional writers, good writers, real critics. Some are RT approved and some are not, and we can chat about whom and so forth. But that's something that I do feel really comfortable doing for people, depending on what their project is like. So, reach out and we'll see if it's a fit.
Awesome. That's a very, very valuable tool, movie critics
Yeah.
to independent filmmakers. And what's the best way they can reach out to you?
Yeah, probably should have, it probably would be helpful to say where to reach me. So, you know what? The best way is my email, which is Nicola Rose Mail, which is NicolarOsem as in Mary, AIL at gmail.com. Or if you're into social media, let's see, let's not go to Magnetosphere's one for this. I was about to say Magnetosphere's social media. It's really not. It's at Nicola Rose Directs, and you can DM me, and honestly, it all kind of ends up in the same place. So
At Nicola Rose Directs.
directs, yeah. The email address is a little different. It's Nicola Rose Mail at Gmail, and then it's at Nicola Rose Directs on everything else.
Awesome. And once again, go see Magnetosphere on Amazon Prime or Apple or any other sites that is playing. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
It's time!
There's never been a better time to make your own film. And if you have a dream project you're excited about and 100% committed to getting it funded, go to financeyourmovie.com, click on the green telephone, you'll see our calendar and find an open spot. We'll do a one-on-one call, which will be the best hour you've ever spent getting clarity and strategy towards financing your movie.